Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. As promised, we got some special guests jumping in here with us today. So I'm going to bring them in. They're our friends from over at Talkin215. Let's start with Jake Biasato from Talkin215. How you doing, Jake?
Oh, doing very well. I need to turn a light on in here.
It's a little dark in that room there. Yeah.
Hey, can I mention that, we're one episode strong in a row with no technical difficulties, so we stepped up our game this week.
Last week, or actually just the other day, was a little bit of a debacle, but we figured it out. Look at that. And then we're going to bring in the other half of other part of Talkin215 here. We're going to bring Sean in. Sean, how you doing, buddy?
Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on?
Not much. We're just really looking forward to getting into this East conversation. Easts, because we all want to talk about just the East, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Actually, we just want to talk the AFC East. We got no other reason to be on here at all.
Yeah. So we're going to do the Eagles last in the NFC East. We are going to start with the NFC. I'm glad you guys are all doing good. We're going to jump right into it, try and have a great show. So let's discuss. I got to get into my banners here. Let's get let's just get this out of the way real quick. Let's talk about the Cowboys.
Next.
Jake, I'm going to let you start it off. Tell me how you're feeling about the Cowboys, what you think their record will be, and how you're feeling about their offseason.
I mean, if you look at the Cowboys and think that they're going to be as good or better than they were last year, you're just lying to yourself. They didn't do anything with the coaching staff, which was terrible. I mean, we all saw how their playoffs ended with one of the worst play calls in Dak Prescott just running the clock down by running it right up the middle. So they didn't really change anything with their coaching staff. They lost Amari Cooper, one of their key pieces on offense. Ezekiel Elliott is 1 year older and appears to be 30 pounds fatter. And he's already lost plenty of steps since he signed his contract. They had a number of key pieces go away in free agency. They've already lost two big key pieces on the offensive line. Like they're not going to be any better. I think they're going to be probably third in the NFC East. I know I said this on another show that I was actually on with Ryan, and I don't even think it's that big of a hot take. I think they're going to finish third in the NFC East.
Sean.
Yeah, I've got a lot of the similar sentiments as Jake. I mean, not to I start off a little strong, but I think the Cowboys are a dumpster fire. They're bringing in, like Jake mentioned, the exact same coaching staff as the year before. All they have done is gotten a year older across the board, and they've lost a lot of key players. I mean, they're down Tyron Smith. He's out with a torn hamstring. Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson are both gone. They lost Connor Williams out in free agency, and as well as Randy Gregory. I mean, their defense will still be, one of the in the top half of the league, but I think this offense is going to be absolute shit. Apologies for cursing if you guys don't allow it here, but
no, that's fine.
There's no way to argue that this team has gotten any better. Like Jake mentioned, I have them finishing third in the NFC East, and all of these pundits saying that the Cowboys and the Eagles are kind of neck and neck in the preseason power rankings. They're just I don't know what they're seeing. They're not seeing the same team I am.
Ryan.
Yeah, so as promised, Jake brought up a good point on Twitter the other day when Jalen Reagor was traded, and the fact that the Eagles got more for Reagor than the Cowboys got for Cooper. And this is a product of, and I'll touch on another receiver that this happened to later. This is a product of the Cowboys overpaying a mediocre quarterback and that they have no cap space to afford Amari Cooper's contract. So they had to unload him for cheap, and every team knew that. So they took the best offer that they could get, which was a 5th and a 6th round pick from Cleveland, and had to move on from him. And I touch on Amari Cooper specifically because Dak Prescott's career passer rating in games without Amari Cooper 20 points lower than games where he has Amari Cooper. Dak Prescott has, I would say, arguably the most to prove in this division, which is a shock because Daniel Jones just had his 5th-year option decline. Carson Wentz is now on his 3rd team as the number 2 overall pick formerly. And as we'll get into, Jalen Hurts has a lot to prove himself. So to say that he might have the most to prove in this division is a shock, but I don't think that's a hot take. And I'm going to agree with those boys down there. I say 9-8, 8-9, 3rd in the division. To me, they could easily go under 500. They outside of CeeDee Lamb, they lack offensive weapons on the outside. And Zeke's a year older, as Jake said. To me, the whole team's a dump fire, and they just lost their left tackle for probably the season, and resulted in signing Jason Peters, which, I mean, as Eagles fans know at this point, is a laughable desperation move. So I could see them very well going under 500, and they're definitely the third best team in this division.
Yeah, listen, you guys said it all. I've got them at 9-8 and third in the division. And as for all the reasons you guys pointed out, the one that I was going to bring up was what Ryan pointed out, the Amari Cooper factor for Dak Prescott, 22.1 points lower when Cooper is off the field than when he's on the field for Dak Prescott. So no, I don't think anything that you guys said was a hot take. I think it's the reality of it. And as Sean pointed out, the preseason power rankings that have the Cowboys and the Eagles neck and neck, I just don't see it. I don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know what they're looking at. I just don't agree with it. So no, I'm right there with you guys. All right, now that we've gotten through the dumpster fire that is the Cowboys, because none of us like them anyway.
Well, real quick, Jason Peters, it's great that he's on a team, that he's super valuable, but his value is in more of a coaching aspect. The fact that he can coach up some younger players. So, look, it is what it is. You hate to see him be a Cowboy, but as an Eagles fan, if he's what they're resulting for with left tackle,
you got to feel good.
You got to feel good about that.
Yeah,
he won't even make it to any of the Eagles games. He'll play 3 games and then ride the injury bug, same as he did towards the end of his Eagles career.
Yeah, and I think just to, one last aside, I think you guys are being pretty generous with these wins. I don't think 9 wins 9 wins is probably good for a second in the division. These guys, it's between 7 and 8. Probably closer to 7.
Yeah, I could see it.
The first place schedule, they lost a lot of pieces, like we all touched on. They're overrated as it begins. Trayvon Diggs, he's a ball hawk, but he is not a lockdown corner. And teams are going to continue to take advantage of that.
Very, very Asante Samuel vibes from Trayvon Diggs. But
that's insulting to Asante Samuels.
I think 8 wins is probably the realistic number there.
But to put some respect on Asante Samuel's name, man.
Yeah. Let's not forget that Asante was very boomer bust. He could lead the league in interceptions one season, but in the same turn, he gave up a lot of touchdowns. Not nearly as many yards as Trayvon Diggs did last year. I still don't understand how he's an all-pro corner, giving up over 1,000 yards receiving. I don't.
It's a popularity contest.
Yeah, America's team, whatever. Moving on from the Cowboys, we're going to go into the Washington Commanders. What a stupid name. Can we start with how stupid that name is?
Oh my gosh. They could have gone so many different ways that would have been so much better than the Commanders. And then you choose red, which I get, it's one of their colors. They're keeping the same colors and everything, but you're the red commies.
I think that the franchise was smart enough to actually put that all together, Jake. You're giving them a little too much credit again.
I like that Ryan's got the Redskins banner behind them.
The jerseys are horrible. The name is horrible. I still have a hard time actually remembering that they're called the Commanders. So if I slip up from time to time, please excuse me.
It's not a problem. Not a problem.
Yeah,
is it better or worse than the football team?
I think it's worse. If you're asking me flat out, would I have chosen Commies as a team name or the football team? I would go with the football team.
I think I like football team a little better. Football club, even if you wanted to have that soccer edge, they're both better than Commander.
They're a soccer team now.
Yeah. All right, let's fire away with the questions. Ryan, I'm going to let you go first. Does Wentz really make the Commies? Or I'm gonna keep doing it. Commanders that much better? And what do you got their record looking like?
So I got them 9-8, regardless of what the Cowboys finish at. I got them taking second in the division. I think that they'll take the tiebreaker. We know Wentz has been a locker room cancer in the past. Obviously, all the reports seem to align. And when your previous ownership comes out and said, yeah, we didn't really care if we were going to make the playoffs, we were still going to move on. That's not a talent issue at that point. That's a get your ass out of the locker room issue at that point. So he probably has the second most to prove in this division, in all honesty. That being said, I think he's a clear, obvious upgrade over Taylor Heineke. He's obviously got the arm talent. He's got the arm strength. And we've seen him make big plays in the past. He did it for the Eagles for a long time. The capability is there. And now he's playing with arguably the best receiver that he's had in his career. I know Michael Pittman's a very good receiver, but Terry McLaurin is very dynamic. And
Yeah.
I don't hate Jahan Dotson either. Like, I know he's a rookie. He's going to have some growing pains, but I think Jahan Dotson at Penn State is a fantastic draft pick for these guys. They're obviously going to look to throw the ball with the unfortunate incident that happened to Brian Robinson earlier, last week, or was it earlier this week?
Earlier this week.
Yeah, because obviously they don't trust Antonio Gibson as far as they can throw him. So I think they're just going to air out the football. I think Carson Wentz is going to get plenty of opportunity to show that, third time's the charm for him. And I got them at 9-8, second in the division. And with how wide open I got the NFC being, they're a wild card possibility to me. And I think Riverboat Ron turns that defense around.
Sean.
All right. So bit of a differing opinion on the Commanders coming into the season. I don't think Wentz has anything to prove because I don't think I think he's absolutely cooked. I think these issues go back to his concussion playing against Seattle in that playoff game. I just don't think he's got it anymore. I think in this particular franchise where the management, the front office just already isn't the best situation to be in. I think a guy like Wentz, who is not a particularly good team player, does not seem to put in the extra work to improve his game. I think, you're probably looking at Heineke taking over the starting spot around the middle of the season. I do not see this experiment going well at all. Again, not a real heavy offseason, a real good offseason for the Commanders. There's really not a whole lot of notable pickups. I've got this team actually finishing dead last in the division, 6 wins.
Damn.
Okay.
So we're going to touch on them being dead last if you also think the Cowboys are going to be third, because that only leaves one team for second. So we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, next.
But Jake, get into your Redskins, Commies take while we're still here.
You can look at all 4 teams in this division, and there's obviously one team that made vast improvements that we're going to get to in 2 teams from now. There's one team that I think lost a lot of players, which we just touched on. And then there's this team that really kind of just stayed where they're at, which isn't great. I mean, their big addition obviously is Carson Wentz, and you have a lot of people varying opinions whether he is completely cooked and washed, or there's people that really think he might be able to revitalize what the magic that he had earlier in his career. I have no idea. I really don't have a finalized opinion on what he's going to be. Could he be great? Sure. Could he be washed? Possibly. I'm not paying enough attention to the reports coming out of training camp. I've seen some that he has accuracy concerns. I've seen others say that he's airing the ball out and looking great. I really have no idea. And I didn't watch any Commies preseason. I don't even know if Carson played in the preseason. I don't think he did, because I feel like it would have been somewhere on Eagles Twitter, no matter what happened, good or bad.
True, yeah.
So I don't think he played a single down. Jahan Dotson, sure, cool. They reached for him. He's talented. Maybe he'll be good. Maybe he won't. He's nothing amazing, nothing special, in my opinion. I mean, look, he may go out and torch us in week 3 and whatever. They're going to beat us one week. It's just tough divisional games. They're going to be about where they were last year. I don't think Taylor Heineke is going to take the starting role, barring any injury. I think they're going to let Wentz go all the way. And the strongest point on that team, Ryan already touched on, is Riverboat Ron. I mean, that is the best part of that team. Their coaching staff is obviously second best in the NFC East, only second to the Philadelphia Eagles. And the defensive side, they're probably better than us in coaching. We just have all the studs. But we'll get to the Eagles here shortly. I have them as the second place team in the NFC East, somewhere between 8 and 9 wins. They could go as high as 10 wins, I believe. They could do what a lot of teams do with the Redskins and the Giants and be as low as 6 wins. They have a good defense, even though Chase Young is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. It seems like he's never been able to stay very healthy. They still have a lot of weapons on that defense. They still are going to take at least half of their NFC East matchup. So that's 3 wins right there. And then I don't have their schedule in front of me. I don't give a damn about them. They're not a real threat. They're not going to do a damn thing in the postseason. They're going to do very little in the regular season. It is what it is. There's nothing special. They're years away from any kind of real contention. They're just exactly where the Giants are right now.
Yeah, I think Jake said it probably the best as of right now. Is there a team that really didn't make any additions? The Jahan Dotson draft pick. I do like Dotson. I think he is the unfortunate candidate here because he ended up going to Washington instead of a team with what I believe is a better quarterback. Because I like Sean, or sort of like Sean. I don't think he's cooked. Wentz, that is. Is he an upgrade over Taylor Heineke? I do believe he is. But I don't think he's the 2017, 2018 Carson Wentz that took literal trash cans to the playoffs at the wide receiver position. And let's not forget that this is one of the first times in Carson Wentz's history where he's actually had a true number one wide receiver lining up on the outside. I've got them at
18 trash cans, by the way, right? Not the Super Bowl champion 2017
one. No, the 18-19 trash cans.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Two totally different sets of trash cans.
Wide receiver. I mean, there's some issues there. But no, I've got them at 9 wins, just like the Cowboys, and either team could take the winner there and be first or second or third in the division. But I don't think this division is as close as any of the media is trying to make it out to be, because they're also saying that the Redskins are going to compete for a playoff spot, and I don't believe it, not in any way, shape, or form.
But 9 wins, that's competing for a playoff spot.
In the NFC, it is, yeah. In the AFC, not a prayer in the world, but in the NFC, yeah.
Not with the teams that I've already locked in the playoffs in previous weeks. 9 wins doesn't get it done. So for me, they are not a playoff team. Yeah. So we'll get away from the commies and we'll go to.
I want to talk about this next team after Sean's take, because that's wild to me.
Sean's going first, so that's fine.
Well, hold on. The Giants are not world beaters by any stretch of the mind. I just think that the Cowboys are probably just a little bit too much of a dumpster fire. I think the Redskins are just a bad team with Carson Wentz at the helm. You just wait and see. Like I think he's going to be downright awful, and it's going to take them just too many weeks to move on from him and play catch up in the latter half of the season. Listen, I mean, the Giants are certainly not the cream of the NFC here, but they do have a brand new coaching staff. I mean, they got Brian DeBoll coming in. They got Mike Kafka as their offensive coordinator coming over.
Sean, buddy, do me a favor. Pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Sorry, you were like getting further and further away.
I'm trying not to warp my face too much. But they got Brian DeBoll coming over as their head coach. They've got Mike Kafka coming from the Chiefs as their OC. They picked up a quality backup in Matt Breida for whenever Saquon goes down in week 2 or 3 for the season. Not to mention they got 4 new starters on their offensive line, which was their biggest Achilles heel. They are by no stretch of the mind a strong playoff contending team, but I do think they are good enough to probably come in and either tie with the Cowboys for second, or just have that tiebreaker. I've got them at 8 or 9 wins for the season, and that's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
Ryan.
So when I first heard that the over-under for the Giants win total this year was 7.5, I put every penny that I had in my DraftKings on the under. This is a team that will compete for a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. And two reasons. One, they lack offensive talent just through and through. People are, so high on Kadarius Toney, who's done absolutely nothing in his NFL career. And their best offensive weapon is Saquon Barkley. And when was the last time he played 16 games? When was the last time that you could rely on Saquon Barkley to play a full season? And while, yes, they changed out some of their offensive line, to me, that doesn't necessarily mean they got better. And then ultimately they have Daniel Jones at quarterback, who obviously they don't have any faith in. They just declined his 5th-year option. I think they're ready to move on from him. I think Tyrod Taylor actually starts about halfway through the season and does better than Daniel Jones does, quite frankly. I think Daniel Jones is far and away the worst quarterback in this division. The Giants have absolutely nobody on defense with the loss of James Bradbury. They have a horrendous defense. They're not a good offense. There's no aspect where this team is the best in the division or even the second best in the division. So to me, I think they win like 5 games, maybe 4. I think they're more likely to be a top 5 pick than they are to finish above 4th place in this division.
Jake.
Look, Daniel Jones obviously sucks, but it seems like he always has our number. So like when I don't watch a whole lot of Giants games like I do Eagles games or anything, But it seems like whenever he plays us, he's always got it figured out and always looks better than he actually is as an NFL quarterback. So it kind of skews your judgment on a player as a whole. You look at the stats at the end of the season, you look at the record of the team at the end of the season, that makes you feel one way. And obviously the team feels that way with how you both touched on there, declining his fifth-year option. But look, other than their offensive line, which they spent a boatload on, that's the only improvement, which obviously is a massive area that isn't important to any NFL team. So if Saquon stays healthy, that's really the key, because they're not going to win through the air. Everybody jokes about the stat that after week 8 there were 0 wide receiver touchdowns from the Giants. Kenny Galladay, there were rumors that he might even get cut at final cuts. Obviously more of a cap reason, but also touches on just the inefficiency of a player being paid what he is being paid at his position. They're in the same kind of boat as Washington, except Washington just has a higher floor. They are nowhere near competing. They have nothing really to look forward to. It's not like they're a piece or two away from competing. You even put a better quarterback in that team, they will do better, but they are not going to make any kind of deep run. So they are going to be, I don't have them 4 or 5 in the draft, or really 4 or 5 wins. I have them 6 or 7 wins. Again, they may very well take a win from the Eagles, just because interdivisional games are always a slog fest. No matter how bad a team is, it's always very difficult. But I feel very similar to them with the Redskins, or the Commanders, as I already said. They're nowhere close to competing. They're going to have some sneaky wins here or there. Their fans are dumbasses, and their team is going nowhere.
Yeah, I got them at 6 wins. And I could very easily see it going one way or the other, to be honest with you. It can either go down to the 4 or 5 win area, or it could go up to the 7-8 win area. But they're not, to me, they're just not a competitive team, and a lot of it rests on the quarterback position. Daniel Jones has not shown anything outside of Eagles games that he is going to be a starting quarterback in this league at any point in time. Saquon Barkley, as Ryan pointed out, hasn't stayed healthy since his rookie season. It's just a situation here in New York where they went out and they paid a bunch of money to some wide receivers who don't have a quarterback to throw them the football, which is a mistake, obviously. So for me, 6 wins, but wouldn't be surprised if it goes one way or the other. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. Let's get into what we're all here to really talk about. The AFC.
ST East.
All right, let's talk about the Eagles real quick.
Quick.
That was fast. Let's move on.
Real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason we are all here and the reason you probably tuned in is to listen to us talk about this team right here, the Philadelphia Eagles. As you guys all know, in the offseason, they go out and they make a ton of additions, including on draft day, getting A.J. Brown. I think something that goes under the radar for me, or not necessarily for me, that I have noticed is people forget that early in free agency, the Eagles signed Hassan Reddick. Or got Hassan Reddick. A lot of people seem
Somebody
to
listened to our last episode.
Maybe, but I didn't. But people seem to forget that because of all the other additions that were made by Howie Roseman here in the offseason. Ryan already pointed out that we got more for Jalen Reagor than the Cowboys got for Amari Cooper. So, the Eagles, let's I'm going to let Ryan go first on this one. Yeah,
I'm going to let our guests go first.
Fair enough. Jake, I'm going to let you take it away. Just start firing away with some Eagles information, and we'll all chime in and follow up.
Perfect. Well, you couldn't have said it better yourself, because you said exactly what we said, and we're phenomenal. So Hassan Reddick is a very...
I can concur. They are phenomenal.
Yes, thank you. Hassan Reddick, very overlooked addition. No, not the player being overlooked. People still respect the hell out of him and all, but people are forgetting that he is on our team because of all of the phenomenal moves that Howard Roseman made this offseason. And Hassan Reddick, I said on the podcast on our last episode, may end up being the biggest addition to this team, ahead of A.J. Brown, ahead of first-round pick Jordan Davis, ahead of James Bradbury. He is going to completely change that defensive line, and he is going to be automatically the best rusher of the quarterback on this team. May not be the best run stuffer, like he's on the edge. You got Jordan Davis, a mammoth of a human being in the middle, but he's going to be one of the most impactful players on either side of the ball as long as the man of the hour, Jonathan Gannon, does what he is supposed to do. There is no seat hotter than Jonathan Gannon's seat right now. He has a sexy defense at every position. Maybe not if they get hurt, not a whole lot of depth in a number of areas, but this starting healthy defense is sexy. There's no better way to put it. And if Jonathan Gannon continues to do what he did last year and just trying to force feed his idea of heavy zone, very light blitzing, disguising almost nothing at the line of scrimmage, it is not going to be successful. He needs to stop with this read and react of the defensive linemen. Obviously, Fletcher Cox already kind of spoke out about it last year, and that riled a lot of feathers because he wasn't playing all that great. Was it because he's declining? Was it because it was a bad run defense? Was it a little bit of both? Hopefully, we won't find out this year. Hopefully, they just let them do what they're made to do. We talked about a lot last year. Do you think that the defensive coordinator of the Rams is telling Aaron Donald to say, hey, why don't you wait and see what goes on first and then make your move? No, he's saying, go get the ball. That's it. You know what you're supposed to do. You are an all-pro, all-world level talent. Go get the ball. We don't have somebody as talented as him, but we have very good defenders on the defensive line, in the secondary, and now we can even say in the linebacker room. Let them do what they are best at. Do not just throw people way back to say, oh, well, we didn't give up any plays over 30 yards. No, press these guys at the line of scrimmage. Trust that you have Marcus Epps, which we said last year was the best safety that we had on the team last year. And all reports are that he's gotten monumentally better in the offseason through training camp. Let him be that big bruiser in the backfield. You got CJ Gardner-Johnson now. Let him just yap his mouth and hopefully live up to the shit that he's going to be talking. And then let your bulls at the front just wreak havoc. I'm going to come back around for offense, but
Oh, I know.
No, I've had a really tough time throttling just how excited I am for this team, and really it just leads me to harping on just how much of a hot seat, again, as Jake mentioned, that Jonathan Gannon has. He's got every single level. He has studs that Howie has gotten him on the defensive side of the ball. So to the point where if we are not seeing, the absolute, again, we talk about this on Talkin215, just the sexiest defensive schemes. You want to see everybody attacking the ball from every single level. The weaknesses on the team. We needed a second cornerback. We got James Bradbury. We needed linebackers. We have just completely retooled our linebacking unit to where it might very well be a top 5, top 6 unit in the league. The defensive line with Jordan Davis, you talk about just, that portion of the defense doesn't have to be sexy. Just get your man in front of you and just beat him. The team has the talent to do that at every single level now. So it's been really exciting to just try to figure out just how good this team can be if the coordinators do their jobs and make just prepare an NFL ready defense and of course offense on the other side of the ball.
Would you say that defense is very handsome, Sean?
It's they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous men.
Ryan, let's do, since they started it with defense, let's go defense. Ryan, go ahead.
You're muted, bud.
Damn
you
dog.
muted yourself, my friend.
Oh, always my dog, No, I'm just kidding. But the defense has made vast improvements. And one name that nobody mentioned was Kaiser White, who had 144 tackles last year. He was pretty much the first linebacker they brought in during the offseason. And with all the other additions, it just got swept under the rug. The TJ Edwards wearing the green dot. You've got Kaiser White. You've got Nakobe Dean. You've got, the linebacking core, as already mentioned, is a top 5 unit. They had the biggest steal of the draft in Dean. And in the third round, he was the first round talent that went in the third round because of a shoulder injury. Well, guess what? Dean don't have to play right away if his shoulder's not feeling great. Got 2 other linebackers that can do the job. Hassan Reddick is going to change. The biggest issue that I'll say the entire football team had. I know Jalen Hurts wasn't the most successful passer of the football. The team was terrible with the pass rush last year, through and through. You look back at the Bucs playoff game, Brady could have made himself a sandwich every time he dropped back to throw the football. It was criminally embarrassing how bad the pass rush
Ryan Kerrigan was in his face all game long.
Yeah. Ryan Kerrigan. But yeah, they made the additions, and I feel like, as you guys touched on, this is John Gannon's got to do something. There has to be creativity. Jim Johnson rolled over in his grave, God bless his heart, last year at every defensive scheme we were running because it was always bend, don't break, and sometimes they broke directly in half. You look at the Bucs game; the Bucs offense ate all over them in the first half. It was terrible. I mean, and other offenses did that as well. You look at the Chargers. You look at pretty much any quarterback, because I think the Eagles had the fourth highest completion percentage in history against them last year. It was over 70%. It was just terrible. But now you have two lockdown corners. You have a 1A and a 1B in Slay and Bradbury, so you can afford to play more man. You don't have to rely on zone so much, and you can go after the quarterback. Give them a bump and run at the line because you've got two good cornerbacks. Let them do their job and let the pass rushers do their job. Really, with all the additions they made, you don't need good linebackers if you have a great defensive line and a great secondary, but hell, they got them anyway. And to touch on Davis, I like Davis. Potential's absolutely through the roof. He could be the next Aaron Donald. I have very tempered expectations because he is a rookie. Yes, he's huge, but there will be growing pains because he's a rookie. Let's pump the brakes just a little bit. He's not going to be some 12-sack Aaron Donald out the gate. It's not going to happen. But I give him some time. He might be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything you guys said is like spot on. I don't even have that too many comments to add to it. I know you guys touched on, obviously, our two new shutdown corners. Let's not forget that we probably had the best slot corner in the league last year in Avonte Maddox.
You can take probably right out of that sentence.
You had the best corner in the league last year in Avonte Maddox. So for John Gannon to come out and be running zone coverages, I think would be absolute madness. You need to just let the players put your players in a position to be successful based on their talent. It's a pretty simple concept, Let Hassan Reddick and the offensive line defensive line bull rush the offensive line. Let your linebackers do whatever additions they need to do, and then let your corners cover. It's not a complicated scheme that you need to be running. And like you guys pointed out, Jonathan Gannon's going to have to, really come ready to go. Let's switch to the offensive side of the ball. Jake, you went first the last time. Sean, fire away.
Can I just add one more aside to the defensive side of the ball?
Of course.
We just talked about all these additions, and we keep forgetting that we're getting a perfectly healthy Brandon Graham back.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys recall, but especially when it comes to our run defense completely flipped after the first couple of weeks of the season when Brandon was healthy. I mean, we were stopping the run the first 2-3 weeks, and then he went down, and it completely turned on its head. So that's another.
You got guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire running for over 100 yards. We could not give up less than 8 yards per carry.
Right. So I think, we keep sleeping on all these new people, but tried and true, Brandon Graham is going to be a huge up for this, for this defense if he stays healthy all this season.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm hesitant to say Brandon Graham is fully healthy. Achilles tears are nasty, man. I need to see some explosiveness off the line in the first couple of weeks before I go ahead and deem him healthy.
And the biggest part of him being back is Derek Barnett is now in the second unit.
Like that's the best part.
Not an awful player, but not a starter. And now you're not going to have him as a starter. And hopefully that means he can just have more of that dog in him and just go out there and give even more, hopefully less penalties, but give even more at the line of scrimmage and do that. But I really see, Sean touched on it well, I really see us having, again, a great run defense, which is really going to put even more pressure on Jonathan Gannon and what he does in the secondary, because I believe teams are going to realize pretty early in games we will not have success with the run, and they're going to be airing it out. And so you have to really rely on good man-to-man coverage with some help over the top as well, because no matter who you're facing, there's going to be somebody that can stretch the field. That's a player that every single team has, and those intermediate areas was really where we struggled last year. You might have not had a whole lot of deep threats, but there was a lot of soft area in that zone coverage that we were playing right in the middle of the field. We can't allow that if our run defense is going to be as good as I believe it will be.
All right, so let's shift focus to the offense. Like I said before, Sean, fire away with the offense. Obviously, we have Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, everybody's kind of waiting on bated breath to see the level of increase in play of Jalen Hurts, right? So, really, the entire offensive production this year is going to rely on just how well Jalen progresses into this next season. You know, he has absolutely no excuses having the absolute best offensive line in football. He's got a quality run game behind him. You know, picking up AJ Brown and the increase or that Devontae Smith is going to have from season 1 to season 2. I mean, there's going to be no excuses. So we're going to see just how well Jalen has improved, just how well Shane Steichen is at calling plays. I mean, the sky's the limit, but I mean, that's kind of what we're all waiting on, you know. And I do think that AJ Brown will appear to be the absolute most valuable player on this side, either side of the ball. I think he is an absolute stud and really fits the way Jalen Hurts so far likes to play football. So I'm really excited. This could be a top, again, just like the defense, a top 5 or 6 unit in the league if all goes according to plan. But it could also be, you know, barely hitting the top half of the league if Jalen.
Would you call it a middling?
What's that?
A middling?
It's meddling with an E. No.
That's an inside joke on our show.
Yeah, it could be a very middling offense if he doesn't make some snappier reads, if he continues to try to run the ball after his first read isn't open. So we're going to see the growth of Jalen as a quarterback. And if it happens and he grows, then this team, you know, is probably just behind the Rams at, as second in the NFC.
Ryan.
Jake.
I'm sorry, no, Jake.
I think Sean said it really well about pressure is all on him. There are no excuses, but I also believe nobody knows that better or would say it more himself. Like, I think he will fully come out and say, look, I have absolutely no excuses. Like, before the season, not if he starts struggling or anything. Like, he knows he is such a humble, great leader that he is fully prepared to say, look, they've given me everything I need. My best friend on the team, also the best wide receiver now currently on the team. They have kept everybody on the offensive line and drafted a center to fill in that void as soon as Kelsey hopefully never retires. They have done everything that they could possibly ask for, or that he could possibly ask for, and more. And just to touch on the guy himself, you cannot dislike him as a leader, but that doesn't win you games. It helps win you a locker room, but doesn't necessarily win you games. And so he needs to go out there and prove it, much like every single person is saying. He's got to go out there and prove it. And like Sean said, I think AJ Brown is going to be one of, if not the most important addition to this team. I do think Hassan Reddick's going to be right there with him. It's going to be a close battle throughout the season, and that's not a bad thing to be thinking of which one is a better addition. But I think Jimmy Kempsky said it best. He might have 11 billion targets this year. If you look at training camp and what they were doing, he just seems to always gravitate towards them, not only because he's the best wide receiver on the team, but because they have that chemistry of being very long, not lifelong, but very long friends. And he has that trust in him that he knows he can throw a ball, and even if it's not perfect, he trusts that AJ Brown will be able to position himself and be able to bat it down to not be an interception, which is going to be a big perk. He needs to be able to take those, you know what? I trust that my guy's there. I'm going to throw it on time, hopefully, kind of passes, because he seemed to be a little bit hesitant until he saw a guy wide open to really pull the trigger. And by the time that he makes that decision, a lot of times it's a little bit too late. And then Sean also touched on just Shane Steichen's play call and everything. You've heard a lot of people from Jason Kelsey early and even OTAs. So I know Lane Johnson also touched on it. I'm trying to think of the perfect word for it. Their ability to now have the second year under this system with no changes in the coaching staff is proving, to at least to the players' eyes, to be very beneficial. They're already talking in OTAs. They're able to run the offense a lot better than they were even towards the end of last season, because they're just feeling that much more comfortable with the coaching staff, with their play calling and everything. And so I really feel like there's no limits on the playbook or anything. They're able to figure out what Jalen Hurts does best to kind of tailor the offense around that. And hopefully he's making those improvements, so it's not just limited to more of an RPO style offense. Sean said it perfectly. If all the keys and all the cogs go into place, they're a top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 team in the NFL.
Ryan.
I have tempered expectations for this offense. While
Boo.
they have a fantastic running game, I question the utilization of the running backs. I think that they're going to give Miles Sanders too many chances and too many opportunities when he's arguably the third best back. He's definitely not the first. I mean, Kenny Gainwell obviously has all the talent in the world, is the best running back in that backfield. That's just my take on that. However, that I would say Jalen Hurts might have the second hottest seat, maybe even a hotter seat than John Gannon. If he doesn't make the improvements as a passer, or even, just minimal improvements, they could very well move off of him in the next draft with 2 first-round picks, making they just made the Saints draft pick that much better for themselves, as, everybody's kind of touched on. But the offense is set up perfectly. I more so want to talk about long-term because I have a hot take here. My hot take is it doesn't matter how Jalen Hurts plays. They move off of him before he's due for a contract extension. Here's why. Say Jalen Hurts improves as a passer, close to a Russell Wilson-esque, where he's got the same build, not exactly fantastic arm strength, very mobile quarterback that can run. Say Jalen Hurts takes that kind of leap. No shot he gets paid $49 million a season. Not going to happen with the way the rest of this roster is built. If he doesn't improve as a passer, they're going to move off of him anyway. I truthfully believe you look at teams with run-first quarterbacks. You look at teams like the Ravens. You look at the teams like the Falcons when Vic was there. They don't go out and draft first-round talent wide receivers and then the very next season go out and get an even better wide receiver. They don't build wide receiver cores like that if you're going to have a run-first offense. I truly believe that they're just going to go get a pass-first quarterback in the draft, in the offseason, whether it be next year or the year after. I have this really weird feeling just with the way that this team is built that Jalen Hurts is done in Philadelphia after his rookie contract, regardless of how he plays. That's just the way that this kind of smells to me. I don't hope that he plays bad, obviously, because as those guys touched on, if Jalen Hurts does become a Russell Wilson-type passer in this offseason, that they could very well be easily the second best team in the NFC. I still think that the Rams are the best team in the NFC, but they're right now on paper. They're right there with the Bucs. You could argue they're better than the Packers, although it's hard to bet against Rodgers. This team looks good on paper, but I'll tell you, well, bring up that comment real fast. If he wins a Super Bowl, he's going to command $49 million. And again, with the way Howie Roseman does his dealings.
No, he's not. 49. No, he's not.
There's a lot that see. Ryan and I have had that conversation several times.
Hold on, I'm not done. That's the way the quarterback market's trending. If he comes out, if he wins a Super Bowl, if he plays anywhere close to Russell Wilson style football, he's going to ask for $49 million because that's where the market is set at. Even if he asks for $45 million, you think Howie Roseman, the king of putting everything on credit, is going to give him $45 million? No way.
I think we're underestimating the gap in passing ability between Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson. If he
that's what I'm saying. If he comes out and plays Russell Wilson style football, which I think that's his ceiling,
then he should get paid $45 million.
They're going to pay that man $45 million, and I'm first in line for Let
me ask you guys this question. Name one quarterback that, while they were a cap hit of $40 million a year, has won a Super Bowl.
I mean, this whole $40 million a year quarterback is pretty new to everybody.
Yeah, but look at Patrick Mahomes just lost the most dynamic receiver in the NFL because his cap hit was too much and the wide receiver wouldn't restructure. Dak Prescott
also because Tua is more accurate of a passer, apparently.
They're going if they go ahead and they put a cap hit of $40+ million, you're going to start to see this team wither away in other positions.
I mean, you're right.
It's the whole way the NFL is going to go.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not pay one guy $45 million or have multiple weapons for $45 million. That's kind of the question you got to ask.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to pay the guy or not pay the guy at some point, and he's not going to ask for $25 million. So yeah, you're going to pay the guy 45, or he's going to leave.
The reason Tom Brady's been so successful and has great teams is because he's taken pay cuts his whole life.
Yeah, he cheats too. But if he plays. If he plays at Russell Wilson level, so you're saying the alternative is just continually drafting rookies on rookie contracts and hoping that you catch fire in there? Like what if the next guy plays at a Russell Wilson, or if you want to go more passing style, plays at I'm not gonna say Josh Allen or like plays at a Josh Allen level. So once they pay him, are they no longer going to be able to win a Super Bowl?
Well,
Like, do you have to always have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract to have a successful team?
You got to. I mean, you have to have a cheaper deal than $40 million of cap hit. Like, because if you spend like 1/5 of your cap hit on one guy, you look at the Packers. I mean, they just forced Adams out. The Chiefs just forced Hill out. The Cowboys just forced Cooper out. It's a trend. There's a constant. Hey, we're not going to be able to pay all these guys that make our team good.
Adams, Hill, Cooper. Let's
get
that out there.
Yeah, Adams, Hill, Cooper somewhere down there. I think he's below Jake's good. But the point is, like, you're going to have to start making decisions about what makes the team good versus when you pay one guy that kind of money. Now, you could sign him to an extension, and Howie's very good at this. Put him on credit, put those dummy years at the end of his contract. What if he plays good again? And you got to give him another 4 years. You know, then you just keep cap strapping. And that's what Howie Roseman's done for years. I mean, you look at the Eagles, you look at the Saints. So they're the two worst teams about it. I'll say two best teams. They're always $50 million in cap debt as soon as a new season starts. Why? Because they have so much credit from old contracts for players that don't play for this team anymore. They turn salary into signing bonus and put dummy years on contract. That's going to catch up, especially if you pay one guy $40 to $45 million. That will catch up really fast, and the Eagles will not be a good team. Notice as soon as Russ started signing deals and they had to get rid of the Legion of Boom, they were terrible. They were not terrible, but they were not going to ever win a Super Bowl again.
But do you know what Howie also does with players that he likes and are showing an upward trajectory? He signs them mid-season. If they see that kind of potential and realize early that he's playing at that level, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe not a long-term deal, but a 1 to 3 year extension at $33 million coming Jalen Hurts' way around the trade deadline.
Well, he can't be signed to an extension this year. It'd have to be next offseason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's going into his third season, and he's not a first-round pick, so there's no fifth-year option. It would be next offseason he's eligible for an extension. I think that's why a lot of people are saying it's the make or break year, even though it really isn't, because he still has a whole other year.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But that's just like a really hot take. It's kind of like it's really weird to me. Like, you look at the way those other run first teams are built, and granted, they never won Super Bowl. Vic never won a Super Bowl. Jackson's not won a Super Bowl.
The guy you compared him to won a Super Bowl, or Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl, and then after he signed his big deal, never won a Super Bowl again. I mean, you just look at like the way that, you know, mobile quarterbacks versus big contracts. Like, something smells funny about the way this team's being built. And like, I'm not saying that if Jalen Hurts
finding their best friend really shows that they're going to be moving away from him.
I mean, stuff's happened. Nobody would have thought before the offseason Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill would be in different uniforms.
Yeah, I agree that stuff happens before the contract situation with Jalen Hurts comes up. The stuff that really stuck out to me is his rookie season. You know, when he took over halfway through the season for Carson Wentz, he completed about 50% of his passes. That was a huge topic for Ryan and I on our show. Jake, you talked about it with us on one of our shows. And our biggest question last year was, is he going to get better decision making and also accuracy with the football? He finished last year with, I think it was like 61% completion percentage. So he got better. I look for him to get better again. I believe Jalen Hurts is going to take another step forward. I'm not saying he's going to play at Russell Wilson levels, but look at the team around him. He doesn't have to for this team to win. The team around him is going to be successful, whether or not he's playing at Russell Wilson levels or not. If he takes a step forward from what he did last year, especially down the stretch last year when he essentially willed us into the playoffs, you look at everything that Jalen Hurts brings to the table, and for me, again, I think he's going to take the step forward. Eagles finish somewhere around 12, 13 wins, and I think they are the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Oh yeah, I have them at 11-6 with a possibility of 12-5.
We are saving our predictions for Wednesday's episode.
Okay.
That's fair. That's understandable. You guys
tune in, guys.
Having said that, we spent almost an hour on just the NFC and mostly 30 minutes of it on the Eagles here.
Well, Dallas Goedert's going to be a top 5 tight end.
I haven't even got into that. I wanted to talk about that too. Dallas Goedert is going to be a top 5.
You're switching over to a different team.
I'm not. I'm still talking about the Eagles. But I want to, before you have to get off, because you said you only had an hour, let's make our fancy little announcement here. Ryan, you want to fire away with it, or can I do it?
Dude, you're the host, man. I just work
All right.
here.
So as you guys can see, Sean and Jake here from Talkin215, you heard Ryan and I announce a few weeks ago, about a month ago, that we were going to turn into a sports network. We are officially BSing Sports Network, BSSN. Talkin215 has become the first to join our network. They are now affiliates of BSing Sports Network. We are extremely excited. As I said earlier, as they said earlier, their show is absolutely fantastic. We're excited to have them on. And we look forward to cooperating and getting stuff done and growing with you guys, man.
Well, I mean, when you first talked to me about, you all starting a network and your interest in us joining, I made it pretty clear pretty early that a network was something that I was never really interested in. We have our podcast. We just kind of like the trajectory we're on. We don't really, we would love to support a bunch of different networks, and we have a number of networks that we highly respect and support and everything, but, wasn't something that us as a podcast was really looking into. But just in the amount of times that we've interacted together, and you've been on our show and we've been on your show, and in your talks for the plans of what you're doing with the network and what you would like to do in the projections that we both have for Talkin215 and your network as a whole, it made the decision pretty easy. And I know Sean's here, and he's obviously a huge valued part of this podcast and everything, but we can't forget about the Coach Joey. They have the banner now as the background here that we're going to be using for some live shows that we have coming up. First one being next Friday over in Hocassine, Delaware. You can find all the info for that on our social. But no, Joey's obviously an extremely valued member of this podcast, and going to be a very valued member of the relationship that we have with BSing Sports. So definitely lucky to have the Coach. Extremely lucky to have Sean. He's been a very welcomed addition to this podcast, and I've received so many different people and listeners just commenting and complimenting him as a co-host. But no, we're super excited to join up with you guys. We obviously have a lot more fun kind of details and news to share, both you all and us, with giveaways and stuff to kind of celebrate the announcement and everything. But I want to turn the mic over to Sean to touch on his thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm really excited to be a part of this, guys. When Jake brought up the opportunity to me, he talked about a lot about the trajectory of the show and the long-term plans we had, and teaming up with you guys just seemed like once we set it all out and laid it all flat, it seemed like an absolute no-brainer. So I'm pumped up for you guys to be able to expand and grow, and I'm also pumped up for us to be a part of that and to grow with you guys. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds. I'm glad I got my man Jake here to do it with me. So I really look forward to being around you guys and talking a lot more Philly sports.
Oh yeah.
So I text Jake, let me get the time, at 6:11. So we were very early in this episode. I said, I like this dude. Good pickup. This is obviously the first show that we've had Sean on. Sean, you bring excellent content. Jake, you're a regular on this show at this point, so everybody knows what kind of content you bring to this show. And obviously, we would not have asked Talkin215 to be our first members of our network, let alone a part of it, if we didn't think that you guys were already on a great trajectory. You guys have put in your own work, your own time. You guys have grown your own brand. You guys are doing some great things up there, in Delaware, Philadelphia area. And it's unfortunate that Joey could not be here with us today. But thank you guys for, embracing the opportunity with us and allowing us to help you grow and helping us grow in our own ways at the same time. So as Jake touched on, we are doing a giveaway here at BSing Sports. We got a hat and a shirt for whoever likes and shares this stream. Really easy. You don't got to pay anything to like or share the stream. So whoop-de-doo, you get a free shirt, free hat. We will be giving you guys until kickoff for the Eagles game Sunday to do that. So we'll pick a random winner from there.
Yeah. In addition to having you guys and Coach Joey on, we obviously, those of you who've watched BSing Sports, we have Tim on with us. He brings a difference of opinion from Ryan and I, as you guys have seen over the year and a half that we've done it. Ryan and I agree a lot. Timmy gives us a difference of opinion, and it's awesome to argue. And yeah, just as a whole, like I said before, BSing Sports is extremely excited to have Talkin215 join us. So thank you again for joining us and having faith in us and the trajectory. And same goes for you guys, man.
No, you guys made it an easy decision with the quality of work that you all put out.
All right. You guys, Sean, you staying or you going too?
I actually got to run too, guys. It's been great, but I have my time here is running short too.
That's fine.
It's no problem at all, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. We will absolutely see you soon.
Oh yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Take it easy, guys. Have a good night.
You do the
Timmy,
same.
get on.
What a bunch of great guys, man. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That they gave us the opportunity to do that and grow our brand, grow their brand. That's fantastic that we can officially announce something that Bill and I have worked on for.
Did you hear that?
Did I what?
Did you hear the thunder and lightning behind me?
No, I'm giving a sentimental speech that thunder and lightning can wait. Actually, that's just me bringing the thunder and Talkin215, bringing the lightning here on this episode. But no, I want to reach out and say thanks to Bill. We've grinded a lot over this last year and a half, and to officially be able to announce that we are a network, which is something that we laid out a year and a half ago at Timmy's bachelor party. You've been there every step. You've put in your fair share of work into building this podcast, and we're going to continue to put in our fair share of work building this network. And there's nobody else that I would have rather have started this business with. So I just want to say thanks, buddy.
My man, I'm getting goosebumps. Ooh.
Yeah,
No,
I didn't plan that at all. So
no, I mean, for those of you listening, you got to understand, Ryan and I, like he said, we were at my younger brother's bachelor party and we were talking, and out of nowhere, it was just like, we should do this on air. And then we actually had a real conversation about what our expectations were, what we thought we could do. And then we started doing it. And we're good at it. Those of you who watch us every week know that we're good at it. That's not me being cocky. That's not me being arrogant. That's just watching other networks and then watching us. We can tell that we're good, so we're doing it. Bringing in Timmy. Happy to have you here, buddy.
Hello, guys. Sorry I missed the first half of the show.
That's fine. I mean, for the biggest episode of the year, though, we couldn't get a beard trim going. No
I
haircut?
was a little bit busy. My fault, homies.
It's all right. All right.
It makes
Let's,
you feel better.
That's fine. I got some spicy takes about the AFC, too, if we want to bring it.
At the birthday party I was at, they were complaining that my beard was too scruffy, so I needed to trim it anyway.
Okay, so real quick, Tim, before we kick off the rest of this, give us your Eagles record prediction.
12-5.
Love it.
I mean, we all agree that they're going to take first in the division. They're easily the best team on paper. Now, injuries happen and whatnot, but I still think that this team's got the ship in the right direction. Anyway, Bill, back to your show.
All right, let's fire away with the AFC East now. Got BSing Sports here ready to fly. Timmy, welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We're going to start off with the Miami Dolphins. Minor acquisition this offseason by a guy by the name of Tyreek Hill. You guys might know him. He's a decent receiver. How much over the edge does that put the Dolphins in terms of being second in the division? Because I think we all agree the Bills are the best team in this division. Timmy, welcome. Go first.
Who says the Dolphins are the second best team in the division?
I said, does Tyreek Hill put them over the edge and make them the second best team in the division?
No, obviously the Jets are going to win this division.
I think Tyreek Hill does make them the second best team in the division. But don't forget they have Jalen Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a great slot receiver, as good as Tyreek Hill, let's be real. Maybe some could argue Tyreek Hill got the speed, but Jalen Waddle got the footwork, I think.
Jalen Waddle's got some of the best feet that I've ever seen live. Obviously, I haven't had the opportunity to go to many football games the last couple of years, but I agree with you. Jalen Waddle's got excellent footwork.
And so, like Tim Hawkins said, he don't trust Tua. I don't trust Tua, but I think it's going to be a make or break year, and I think they're going to make the last wild card spot at 10-7.
Okay, I like it. Ryan?
Back just in time. For those of you that don't know, woke up with a pinched nerve in my back. Don't get old, ladies and gentlemen.
He's the youngest person on this show.
I do actually agree that the Dolphins are the second best team in the division. I got them at 10-7. I'll actually agree with Ken. I think that's probably the first time we've aligned on records so far since we started our 4-week adventure going through the NFL. I just think Tyreek Hill is too dynamic. They gave up 5 draft pick equivalents to go and get Tyreek Hill, which is crazy considering, as I already touched on, the Chiefs were kind of forced to get rid of Tyreek Hill. And you look in the Amari Cooper, forced to get rid of versus what Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill commanded. I know they are 2 different levels of receiver. However, but I feel like that the Dolphins, potentially could have gotten him for a little bit less. That's beside the point. This is the most dynamic player in the NFL. I know that he might not be the best receiver. I think Justin Jefferson kind of takes that title. He may not be the biggest, but he's also not the fastest. And actually now he's not even on record the fastest on his team. Raheem Mostert is the fastest player in the NFL according to running speed. So that's an interesting tidbit. Back to the Dolphins as a whole. Same thing with Jalen. It's all on Tua. They got two fantastic receivers on the outside. They upgraded at running back. I do like Chase Edmonds over Myles Gaskin. And like I said, they even brought in Raheem Mostert to shore up the running back room. They brought in the offensive coordinator over in the 49ers. They brought in Mike McDaniel to coach his team. So they're going to utilize the running backs. They're going to utilize Tyreek Hill in the same manner that they utilized Deebo Samuel in last year. I think that this is a 10-7 floor team, really, because they have a great defense too. Xavier Howard's one of the most underrated defensive backs in the league, in my opinion. Nobody talks about him when it comes to the best corners. So I think Byron Jones is a solid number 2. Actually, that's a good point. I don't think that he was the number 1 that the Cowboys wanted him to be, but I think that they do have a good, solid defense that can keep them in games. And I think that they finished second place, 10-7. I could also see 11-6, but I think that they lose both games to the Bills.
Yeah, I also have them at 10-7. The three of us agree. Ken agrees. 10-7 is what I've got the Dolphins at. As you pointed out, as everybody's pointed out, I don't trust Tua. No faith in Tua. Now, I haven't been able to watch a ton of Tua Tagovailoa. However, I did get to watch him a little bit in the preseason game against the Eagles thirds. I know it was the Eagles thirds. However, Tua did do a lot of things correct in that game. When he was starting, he made quick decisions. He was ready to get rid of the ball. When he had to tuck it and run, he tucked it and ran, and he also threw the ball away well. These are things that can translate against ones. I know it's easier to do against threes, but it's stuff that can translate to ones. So if he plays, let's say, 1.5% better than he did last year, they're a 10-7 team, and I think he can do that. And I also believe that they are, in fact, a wild card team.
I actually like Tua. A lot of people are low on him. Did you know that he had the highest completion? A lot of people say that he has a rag arm. Let me lead off with that. Did you know that he had the highest completion percentage in the NFL of passes with air yards over 20 yards?
I did.
He was number 1 in the NFL.
And now his deep threat just got better.
Yeah, and now they have an even more dynamic deep threat who actually is coming off the lowest yards per target of his entire career. So for those still doubting Tua Tagovailoa's arm and saying that will hurt Tyreek Hill's production, I disagree.
All right, let's move on to the New England Patriots.
Third best team in the division.
Third best team in the division. Timmy, fire away with your Patriots predictions. I know you weren't 100% prepared, but just give us what you got, buddy.
So they lost a key part of the defense to the Chargers.
Yes.
Corner, right? The corner, I don't remember his name. Or safety, one of those.
You mean Gilmore?
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore?
No, it wasn't Gilmore. They lost a corner of safety.
Ryan, help us out here.
Talking about J.C. Jackson?
Yeah.
To the Chargers. Lost to the Chargers.
Yep. I got my facts right for once. But
Bill, it sounds like you're the one that's unprepared here, man.
But
sorry, I've been on this thing looking at the screen for over an hour. My head hurts.
They basically said Ramon Stevenson has the beginning back carries, the 1-2 carries, and Damian Harris will probably get the third down touches. I got them going 9-8, third in division.
Y'all know what the hottest flavor at Buffalo Wild Wings is, right? It's Carolina Reaper, and then it's me with my takes. The Patriots finish under 500. The Patriots will go 8-9 this year. They'll finish third in the division, and one of two things will happen. Bill Belichick will be relieved of one or both of his duties as head coach or GM, or he will retire.
I like that fact.
It's not that hot of a take.
Here's the thing. Robert Kraft told him at the end of last year, if you cannot win without Tom Brady, you are done. And that is true. He has not shown, outside of a miracle 11-5 with Matt Castle season, that he can win without Tom Brady. His career winning percentage without Tom Brady is below 500. That's why, a lot of people consider him the second best coach of this generation behind Andy Reid. But I think that I think it's inevitable at this point. I don't think that the Patriots got any better anywhere. The running game is still going to be a staple there, despite the fact that the catalyst for that, Josh McDaniels, is now the head coach in Oakland. And I do think that Ramondre Stevenson has a much bigger role to play in the offense. But their best receivers, Devontae Parker, who, again, 30 years old, can't really stay. They don't have any dynamic weapons on the outside. They don't have a dynamic type. They don't have anything dynamic in the passing game. They're vanilla as hell, in all honesty. And the defense, got a little bit worse. They're a little bit older. There was some suspect draft picks made by Bill Belichick that seemed like reaches at the time. I'm not convinced that this team is any better than they were last year. The Bills are still the class of the AFC East. The Dolphins got immensely better, and so did the Jets. Quite frankly, I think that the Patriots are the only team in this division that didn't improve. I got them going 8-9. And like I said, I think at the end of this year, Bill Belichick either retires or is relieved of one, if not both, of his duties.
It's not that hot of a take. I've got the Patriots going 7-10, and Bill Belichick being relieved of his duties. As you pointed out, Robert Kraft at the end of the season. I'll let you go in just a second, Timmy. Let me get it all out. Robert Kraft at the end of the season last year approached Bill Belichick and did tell him, as Ryan pointed out, hey, if you can't win without Tom Brady, I don't want you here as my coach. Thanks for everything that you've done, but what have you done for me lately is essentially the role that is taken up in every aspect of any sport. What have you done for me lately? So I believe that the New England Patriots are a 7-10 team. Maybe they go 8-9. I doubt it, but I got them at 7-10. And Bill Belichick will be relieved of his duties in New England this offseason. So there wasn't that hot of a take there, Ryan. Timmy, go ahead.
Well, you and I just agree on everything, so whatever.
Did Bill announce his defense and offensive coordinators yet?
No.
So he's doing that too?
I mean, him being the defensive coordinator isn't much of a surprise. I think he's always been a defensive-minded coach. The offense I think is going to sputter without him, to be quite honest.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
All right, we'll do the Bills last. Let's go with the Jets. Jets.
Don't ever say that on my show again.
Jets.
We didn't even say fly, Eagles, fly, not one time, and you're going to go ahead and do the Jets chant?
It just rolls off the tongue so nice. Jimmy, tell
Ladies
me.
and gentlemen, Bill is a Jets fan.
Bill does not dislike the Jets. For what it's worth, he's just an Eagles fan. Actually, 3 of the teams in this division I don't mind. The Dolphins are technically my second favorite team, but I don't dislike the Jets, and I do like the Bills.
You said me, Bill?
Well, yeah, it's always you, buddy. It's always you.
I know.
Ladies first.
But so the Jets made a lot of off-season moves this season. I can't think who they signed. I'm prepared. I know.
Forget who they signed.
they drafted really well this season. Really well. Zach Wilson, he's hurt right now, but I think he's going to come back on fire. He's going to prove that he can be that number 3 pick that they drafted him at last year, and he's going to be good. They signed Garrett Wilson, I think it
Drafted
was.
him.
Drafted, I'm sorry, yes, you're right. Drafted Garrett Wilson, arguably the best best wide receiver in the draft. They have Elijah Moore coming back this year. Healthy. I have them going.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have them going 7-10, 8-9 last in the division. They're 1 or 2 key players away from making a playoff push next year.
Ryan.
I got them at 6-11, maybe 5 wins, but I got them competing in a lot of games, passing the eye test. They are the Detroit Lions of the AFC. The Eagles collectively, in my opinion, had the best offseason. Nobody had a better draft than the Jets. Sauce Gardner has locked down everybody in a small time in the preseason. Obviously, it's preseason. He's playing against backups sometimes. However, there were a lot of questions in the fact that he was coming out of Cincinnati and the competition he was playing against was not NFL caliber. I think he'll prove those people wrong. I think he'll be a very good defensive back and a lockdown corner in the future because all of his techniques were right. He's similar to Sky Moore in the sense that, yes, in college he was playing against bottom tier talent. However, he showed out against it. He was a very elite level player against that lesser competition. Then they go ahead and draft Garrett Wilson. They had 2 top 10 picks in this draft. Garrett Wilson is an amazing route runner with great hands. Not so much of a speed burner. That kind of belongs to Chris Olave, but I think that was probably the best pickup of their entire draft. Then they go ahead and get Breece Hall in the 2nd round. Michael Carter did okay last year, but now that they have Michael Carter as the clear number 2, I'm not buying these reports that Michael Carter's the best running back. He's the number 1. It's not going to last long. Breece Hall's the best running back in that backfield. This offense and defense improved vastly in the offseason. I think Zach Wilson does take a step forward in the eye test when he is healthy. I just think ultimately the AFC is a powerhouse across all divisions. You got the AFC West, where every team is likely a playoff team. You've got the AFC North, where at least 3 of those teams are going to be in playoff contention. The only really bad division is the AFC South.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me the Jets at 6-11, but I think, like the Lions, they play a lot better than their record shows. They just get beat by teams that are better than them.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, you couldn't have said it any better, man. The Eagles probably had the best offseason overall, but nobody drafted better than the Jets. That team is going to be really, really good in a couple of years. It's going to take them time to develop. They have a lot of young talent on that roster, and they will develop. I really believe, like Ryan said, Sauce Gardner is going to be really good. Elijah Moore's there. Wilson's there. Wilson is there. And when Zach Wilson comes back, I do firmly believe that he will take a significant step forward. And the team, as Ryan pointed out, is going to compete. And I really do think that they're going to compete. I just don't think that they're going to win. What happens when you have teams that compete a lot and they're young is they lose games by mistake. Young teams lose games that veterans win. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
And as such, the Jets are a 6-win team for me. And that's just what I've got. Look, the Saleh comment came up. Tim Hawkins says, don't think Saleh's the right guy to turn it around. And I'm going to disagree. That team is just like with Dan Campbell in Detroit. That team plays for Saleh. And they're going to continue to play for him.
I disagree with Bill disagreeing.
I could barely hear what you just said.
I said I disagree with Bill disagreeing.
But yeah, no, for me, the Jets are not as bad as their record is going to show this season. Like I said before, young teams lose games that veteran teams win. It's just that simple. Let's go on to the cream of the crop here in this division, and let's get this podcast on a move. The Buffalo Bills returning AFC East champs, obviously the best team in this division. Lose
number 1 seed in the AFC this year.
Yep.
Number 1. Okay, so we're all on the same page. The Bills dominate this division. I got them at 13 wins. Where you going, Timmy? Go.
Well, they didn't really do much in the offseason. They signed a couple players here and there, but they drafted James Cook to be like the third down throwing slot receiver type of running back. So, but Josh Allen really never throws to slot receivers or running backs. Let me rephrase that. Josh Allen's not a quarterback to throw to a running back. He'd much rather take the ball and run by himself. He's a run-first quarterback. It is what it is. I have them going 14-3, first in the division, first in the AFC.
I like 14. I do like 14-3. Ryan,
I'm somewhere between 13 and 14 wins. I think it really depends on whether they bench their starters in the last game or not, because they have everything locked up, or how everything in the AFC West unfolds. Because I think the Chiefs will give them a run for their money for the most part of the season. But I do agree. Josh Allen is probably the most dynamic and best quarterback in the NFL. Great mobility, fantastic arm strength. I think that the offense is going to start to scheme running back pass plays in, and I say that because early in the offseason, the Bills made a run at J.D. McKissick before Washington snatched him back, and then they went ahead and drafted a type of running back who fits the bill like J.D. McKissick does. So I think they're going to make it a point to throw to the running back more. I think they want Josh Allen running a little bit less because this is not a guy that knows how to slide. He's kind of a big dude who just takes hits.
Yep.
And they didn't have to make any flashy moves in the offseason. They really didn't. I mean, they were already a good team.
Bless you.
Number one cornerback, Tre'Davious White. There we go. Tre'Davious White. He's going to start the season on the pup. So, but yeah, I got 13 wins. Give me 13 wins. Easy number one seed in the AFC. And I think ultimately that's just a result of the AFC East being a little bit weaker than the AFC West.
Yeah, they were a really good team last year. They're coming back as another really good team. It's pretty cut and dry for me that they are easily the best team in this division, and I don't know about easily best team in the conference, but arguably the best team in the conference. Like I said before, 13-4, number one seed in the playoffs.
I just think that the AFC West is going to beat up on each other too much. That's why I think the Bills are going to take it comfortably.
Oh, and sometimes that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to do it for us here on our longest show ever at BSing Sports.
Is it?
Yeah, we've never really broken the 1 hour mark, and we're at just about an hour and 20 minutes here. Sean McDermott is from the Reed Tree. So is the Harbaugh over in Baltimore. There's a lot of coaches in the league. Ron Rivera in Washington.
He probably has the best coaching tree in the NFL.
Definitely.
He does. Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it here for you guys. Ryan, you got any closing thoughts before I sign us out?
Yeah, no, we had a fantastic preview. I think our predictions, obviously everything is based on health, but I think the previews over the last 4 weeks went really well. And at this point, I'm tired of speculating. I'm tired of doing previews. I'd rather be doing recaps at this point. But let's go Irish.
Go Dogs.
Go Irish.
All right. Well, that's going to do it here for us at BSing Sports on this wonderful Saturday evening. Thanks for joining us, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.